So, hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Auto Intel. It's been a while. This show where we explore how AI, technology, and innovation are transforming the automotive world. So, from dealership sales and customer experience to automation, that EVs, and everything in between. So, we bring you real conversations with people who are actually working in the automotive industry. Before we get started, today's episode is proudly sponsored by Personamize.ai. Personamize.ai helps automotive dealerships use AI to capture more leads, respond faster, and follow up consistently, and ultimately sell more cars. So, if you are a dealership owner, GM, sales manager, automotive professional, check out Personamize.ai. Now, let's get into today's conversation. Today's guest is Reece Saunders. Reece has more than a decade of experience in the automotive industry, and he has built his career across sales, management, leadership, and customer experience. He has also been recognized nationally for performance across multiple automotive brands and has a strong passion for developing people and building high-performing sales team. Today he's working in Volkswagen Abu Dhabi, and what makes his perspective particularly interesting is that he is not looking at automotive from the outside. He's been in the showroom, he's managed sales team, he's worked directly with customers, and he's seen how the industry is changing firsthand. So today we're going to talk about reality of automotive sales, what dealerships are getting wrong, where technology and AI can help, and how customers are expecting a change, and what the future of the automotive sales could look like. Reece, welcome to Auto Intel. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. I felt that was a very long build-up. I'm pleased to try and share some time with you and some thoughts.
So let's start with the story. Like, you have spent more than a decade in the automotive industry, right? So what originally got you into the automotive sales?
Yeah, I spent nothing to do with cars, ironically. I was grew up in the UK, very sport-driven background. Got to the point of the age of knowing that I wasn't going to become the next whatever it might be in those fields. Needed to try and figure out what my career looked like. One thing I knew very early, and I don't know how or where I got exposed to it, was a lot of I don't want to say failing salespeople, but failing sports people is sales is often where they find themselves next. So I went and worked for a leasing company in the centre of Birmingham in the UK. Found myself doing more hours than a lot of people and a lot more sales. Leasing is very small margin business. I went to a Toyota dealership, met a man that I remember the whole 2-hour meeting still today. He sold me the dream of the automotive industry and jumped in with 2 feet and given it the last, what is now 13, 14 years of my life. I don't quite know how it's got here, but I remember how it started.
Interesting. So, like, the first meeting that you had, like, what did you learn from those interviews that you had initially? Like, if anyone is in the automotive industry, like, just curious to get his foot in the door, what would you suggest for the first interview?
I think there's so much more to the job than what meets the eye, that you almost have to be very openly naive and okay with the fact that there'll be a lot to learn very quickly and be able to take responsibility for the rubbish outside the front door to everything else that's on the dealership. I think a lot of other industries, you have your set roles, and automotive is everything. It's every kind of sale from B2B, B2C, showroom, phone, digital, WhatsApp, everything all at once. And there's a lot of people that are either worked with me or worked for me over the last 10 years that have gone into a very different type of selling, that you almost have to try and be a master of everything, but not a jack of all trades. But it's a very unique environment. I think going into it, understanding the level of compliance in maybe across different regions, but that and the pace and everything behind the shop floor, and trying to understand that is what allows you to make the being in front of the customer kind of your kind of stage. That's how I've always said it to people, is that's your stage to perform. And then your rehearsals, your learning, your understanding the script is everything you do when you're not talking to that customer. Don't be sat there 10 hours a day with a customer in front of you begging to give you their money. That's unfortunately not how it works.
Moving from sales into the management and leaderships, you saw similar pattern or anything different?
I think those around me and those that mentored me earlier on in my career said, you may struggle to manage a team because sometimes the reason why you might get promoted is because of performance, and maybe your top salesperson is not necessarily always the best manager of people, right? But we work through that kind of ladder of going up within a business. If you're the top performing salesperson in a sales team and you want to become a manager, that's going to come with frustration of, why can't now these people that are in my team do what I was doing before? Or why won't they give as much effort as I was before? They're motivated differently. And understanding that, I think, is a real tough learning curve that still plays and challenges me 7 years, 8 years on into management of people. But I think that it'll never leave you for sure throughout. But I suppose how you deal with it is you kind of just zoomed out a little bit more, aren't you? Salespeople, you're super zoomed in on the second, and you slowly zoom out as you progress through particular roles, I think. So that helps.
Interesting. So initially, like your mentors also suggested that you won't be a good leader. So can you give me an example like where it started to change? What were these steps that you take?
Yeah. So I think it goes from a completely self-confessed workaholic mentality. I'm incredibly lucky. I've got a really very supportive, hardworking wife that understands the motor industry as well. However, understanding people have different borders and stuff to what they want to do. I've never pushed a team so hard that I've lost people because of pushing them so hard, which was personally my own fear of how do I manage you have to push people right to the limit, but not past it. And that's obviously a challenge. But I think sometimes people will speak up and say, I'm that sort of person that needs this or needs that. But it is a trial and error. My first management position, again, fortunately, was my line manager there had been promoted. So he knew how to manage the team that I was taking over. So he was very good at guiding me to have those initial conversations. But then he might deal with the situation differently to how I envision it. We're not exactly the same people, right? We all have our own takes. The thing I was actually thinking today whilst I was driving around for work is, I believe strongly in 95% of the issues we have within a dealership is communication. I think people are either scared to communicate, don't know how to communicate, or we don't communicate in the right ways. I think if you communicate well, then a lot of your problems can disappear very, very quickly within a team of managing people. That's usually where the stress, the anxiety, and the worries all come from. So I try and over communicate with my team. I'm the biggest talker in a WhatsApp group. I'm the one chasing the deal, but I'm the one meeting someone at the front door. I'm the one making sure their wife's birthday went well. But to me, that has to be, that's more important than the 50 emails you get in the meantime. I don't think that's a byproduct.
Reece, you mentioned about like there's thin layer between pushing hard and not pushing hard. So like how do you recognize those thin layers and how do you do that?
Super hard. Again, I think it stems from managing expectations with either it's a new hire or when you take over a team of, they say they want to sell X amount of cars or make X amount of money. Then I'm pretty clear then with what demands that will be on their life, their personal life, everything to be able to achieve that goal. If their expectations are target, then okay, I understand. Why is it not more? Because my lifestyle, my kids, all those, fine. But if it's I'm here to maximize everything for me, for the business, I want to be the number one salesperson in this area, this brand, this region, then it's understanding that your cup can only be so full, right? You can only put so much water in your cup. You can put different liquids in it, but ultimately the car sales will take over a lot of your life. That conversation, being honest and signposting how things need to look, make it very easy to relate back to people down the line. They might say, actually, I don't need to be the best. It's a great thing to say in an interview. It's a exciting thing to speak. It's very different to do, a lot more difficult to do than say. And quite quickly, the first 30 days, 90 days, they'll probably realign their expectations sometimes with what they feel happy to, what sort of exchange they're happy to make. Weekends, evenings, not that sort of thing. And you kind of reestablish where their limit is. And it's repeated. You've told me this is what you want to achieve. My job is to give you the tools, the help, and the support to get there. They then begin to be able to manage themselves.
So if I put it in a line, it's important to understand why you need to achieve and what you need to achieve.
Yeah. They're not driving the performance for me. They're driving it for them. That's always going to be a stronger reason. I'm okay with it not being a company goal. Ultimately, we have a team of individuals that should work well as a team. Your number one motivator is what lies within you, I believe. So I need to align with their motivations, and I need their motivations to help me in my motivations, which goes all the way through. But they've got to come first. I work for them. That's how I see it.
Interesting. So is that something like that differentiates a ordinary or a normal salesperson from a high performer?
Yes, I think absolutely. And I think you can know super quickly. I really do. It doesn't mean they're easier than to find and nurture and retain. People need a real reason to it. And it's either running away from a fear or running with 5 legs towards where it is they want to arrive. So, my first ever GM said, "We like to hire salespeople with loads of debt because they have no choice but to make it work." I have never interviewed someone hoping they have a lot of debt. I'm not quite that far. However, I want a reason which is not just, I want to earn more money or whatever it is. They have very specific goals. The job takes very specific details. Their goals should be as specific as that. If they're not almost sadistically addicted to what that goal is for them personally, they won't be able to apply the same detail into the KPIs, the targets, their actions within the workplace. Very particular. I ask people, what do they do on their time away from work? What do they want to achieve? They say, I want to buy a Rolex, whatever it might be. Okay, how much is that? Okay, so how are you going to pay for it? Are you financing it? In which case, how much do you need in a month? Or how quickly do you want to save it? For me, if you're going to be that monotonous about it, you all will know 100% what that route is. Without a path. Or there was a thing I think I read earlier. It's probably a better analogy. It doesn't matter which way the wind is blowing if you don't know where you're heading, because you don't know if that's a cross breeze, the breeze is behind you or going against you. You need to find your direction first and then make the wind blow in the direction you need to go. Changing the wind is hard, but you need to know where you're heading, right?
Interesting. Yeah, that's a great quote. I like
It was
that.
a Chris Williamson quote, I think, if you've watched any of his stuff, but I think he's awesome.
Speaking about the leadership, sales, like what do you think is the biggest challenging thing that dealerships face right now?
I think there's a lack of skill and training. I think inside of a dealership, stopping to get trained, maybe not by a brand, but by a sales professional is hard. Most dealerships are ran very lean on staff. There's always a lot of demands, whether it's internal stakeholders or externally, and your Volkswagen, your whoever it is that you're representing. But to take someone from the shop floor and to actually train, coach, and develop people, I think is almost non-existent.
Why do you think that it's non-existent?
I think it's hard to find someone who is willing to do it, but also I think a good trainer is completely undervalued. The 2 trainers I've had that have influenced my career, I would call them now. I'd like to think they'd pick up, or they'd certainly come back to me, because they know they've influenced the next 40 years of my life and how I see in my industry. Do I think everyone invests enough money into giving their teams the skills compared to just paying more for marketing, get more leads, hope there's more sales? That seems logical. Sales training seems like more of a risk if there's a external lump sum, but you're training someone a skill that lasts for the rest of their career with you. You get more leads in for the next quarter, you impact a quarter, but you're trying to build a business. It takes more than 3 months to build anything, right? Anything of note takes longer than 3 months.
Interesting. So why do you think like dealerships aren't focusing on this part? I get that revenue part. Is that the only reason? Because you can't see a difference in the revenue straight away because it's gradual, or is there any other reason?
2020 to 2022, 2023, COVID had it in a way that you, in the UK especially, the more stock you had, you couldn't go too far wrong. So you could get a good result out of maybe not the right performance. it's easy to do well in good times. It's doing well in bad times, which is difficult, right? I think now in the Middle East, obviously we've had challenges in the last 6 months, and that highlights again across the whole of the region, perhaps, where there's some shortages in foolproof plans. Obviously, it's an area of the world that has been very successful in economic growth, but it is that, without using another adage, the easy times can create maybe not weaker people, but weaker skill sets. You've got to be challenged to be improved. Why then that hasn't been a focus is because the UK and the Middle East has had a very successful 15 years of economic success that I think that has weakened some people, and the experienced people have moved on to the hours got more challenging, the compliance is higher, there's more administration based now in the jobs. And I think those 40, 50-year-old people that might have spent 25 years, very good salespeople, said the jobs changed more than what they're expecting and moved on. And that's left a huge gap. A lot of sales teams now are 10 people under the age of 25. Not that I think age comes into it, but experience. When I was 25, I thought experience didn't count. And now every single year, I think, yeah, it becomes more, even if it's bad experience, you know what bad looks like. So no experience can be not useful.
You mentioned like post-COVID. So let's even go further back, 10 years ago. The way customers buy cars, has it changed compared to now?
I think customers trust dealers more. That used to be a huge issue. There is more trust.
What's the reason you think that customers trust dealerships more now?
More compliance, more consumer rights. They are effectively better protected than ever. So they know you can't really be stuck in a car if you've been missold. There's a way to make sure that things are put right, which I completely agree with is the right thing. I think that builds so much trust that people don't put as much thought into buying the car. I'll change it in 2 years anyway. I want the next best thing. I don't like the color. I don't like everything about it, but I want the next best thing, like an iPhone, right? I don't know if the iPhones even get better. They just seem to get bigger, right? I don't see what else they really do, but I'm not that much of a tech person, but that's helped. And customers are better researched than ever. So again, that helps. But I suppose the use of technology and how cars are advertised and the data that's available to a customer, really on occasion, they're turning up to make sure they receive the treatment and the information that they probably already know. And you're just reinforcing what they're expecting. People know kind of what they're going to buy or what they hope to buy before they enter. 10, 12 years ago, they'd walk in and be like, so what engines are even available? It's a small engine. No, it'll be fine. It's a very powerful, smaller engine. And then, oh, well, you're trying to move me into one car than the other. It might have been actually the right advice, but there would then be the lack of trust of, I can't research it. I don't know anyone else with the same engine. If I Google it, it doesn't tell me. Why is the salesperson pushing me down this engine? It might be because it's the right engine, but it was a bit of a minefield of doing it. I was at Land Rover at the time for a lot of it, and obviously famous for lack of reliability. That trust played a huge part.
You mentioned about compliances. Other than the compliances is something that makes the customers trust dealership much more right now.
Yeah.
So if I ask you like, where do you see like dealerships losing the most potential customers today?
I think speed of response and speed to give that information they need, obviously dual, almost a combined sort of thing. And I think everything is set up for success. The cars are better than ever. Access and information is better than ever. But the service element, I think, which is very hard for AI to be too involved in, is underappreciated. How creating special moments, how far they can really go for a customer. I used to write a birthday card and a Christmas card a week before Christmas to the 300 people I sold a card to that year by hand. I'd post them. I'd pay for the stamp myself. That to me was, no one else will do this. So like, I'm proving a point. I would tell them, you'll get a Christmas card off me. And I don't know whether they believe me or not, but now people will turn up for a test drive. I've done it myself in the last 3 weeks, looking for a car for my wife. Car's not clean, car's not ready, salesperson not dressed professionally. They're not those extra things that take 30 seconds before to be prepared, just aren't being focused because there is so much compliance, their head is on a screen, but it's a human-based business, right? That's number one. It's one human being to another. AI to me should enhance that experience and enhance the ability to give that experience. But ultimately that experience is a human interaction currently, at least.
Interesting. Reece, you mentioned about like getting to the customers as soon as possible and giving them the details that they need. So, like, what are the dealerships doing right now to prevent this gap?
My team here will personally respond with a time limit of no more than 10 minutes. And they make it very clear in that first message, they are not AI. That's the reason why there might have been 5 minutes later than another company, but I'm a human being. You won't have to go through not a switchboard, but you know what I mean? Like a yes, no, that sort of thing. I think customers can get bored because they don't know how many steps sometimes that takes. And after 3 or 4, they're like, you're slowing me down. I'm up here, you're taking me down there. Other dealerships will put AI in straight away. I've had a decent experience yesterday actually using AI for an inquiry for another brand that was far better. And some places, more so in the Middle East, but it happened in the UK as well, it might be 3 days before they respond to an inquiry. I think some people are accepting of that. That's been the norm. For me, I want something within 30 seconds. If we call a customer and they go, wow, that was quick, I used to get such a thrill off. My first impression was I was much better than you expected. That starts us off on the right foot.
Interesting. So, this you mentioned like one of your sales executives makes the conversation from his personal mobile or office mobile, and he mentions that he's not an AI in the first message. So, what happens like when it's not the working hours?
Volkswagen in the UK, when we had an inquiry come in, I would send it out to a salesperson. I would go to sleep by 1 o'clock in the morning, but ending up until 1 o'clock, I would do that. My sales team would put a white shirt on in their bedroom and they would send a video saying, hi, I am at home. We're closed. Thank you, Reece, so much for the inquiry. I can answer some questions perhaps now by email or by WhatsApp. But I can't show you a car now. We're not open right this very second. But I just want to acknowledge the fact that I appreciate you taking your time in your evening to inquire. That I can confidently say was not repeated, I don't think, anywhere else in the country. I think we're a team that was really, really top tier of they wanted to do it. They were desperate. They had a spare shirt ready to put on.
Interesting. It's fortunate to have such a team.
Yeah, for sure. It was a good special, probably 2 years of a real special group of individuals. Now, currently, there is a mixture. We've got 3 showrooms with different opening hours, so we'll always rely it back on to the team that's open the latest. In the evening, it would be a response the following day as it stands. Us as a company, we're building our own CRM, which is completely backed by AI, which should be 3 or 4 weeks away. My understanding on that is they'll go straight into a AI kind of temporary funnel to then be picked up the following morning.
So that's an interesting curve to happen in your dealerships. Looking forward to it.
It's been a lot of work. Obviously, I'm not the IT guys, but to try and put the customer experience in with how a system works from scratch. There is no framework before they built it from a laptop or 20 laptops. We can change everything about. We can use AI to read number plates or plate details when they drive into a service area through cameras and understanding what's wrong with the car and scan the car for damages. All those sorts of things, all helped by AI, which is great, but it's not good if all the information doesn't feed through correctly. So I think we start a trial period in 2 weeks to run it alongside our current CRM, which is super exciting.
So why did you think to build your own CRM for your dealership?
I think prior to me joining, there was my senior general manager where I am now. He'd flown to Turkey where a lot of the CRMs were being managed, had Salesforce. Nothing does everything all inclusive. You have maybe a better thing for sales, but then after sales, use a system that's 30 years old, and parts use a different system and all that sort of thing. That there is no system that does it all together, full stop. That you can spend a lot of money then on someone else's system that doesn't do the job, or you spend substantially more, yes, but in a system that we can change, adapt, and interact for years. So huge investment. I imagine a business risk as well, making sure it's right. Yeah, the stuff that they're showing it can do is CRMs in England are good, but it's just will blow people's mind. I imagine they might look at selling it after if it's a success to recoup some of the costs, but we'll make millions off it, I'm sure.
Interesting. Looking forward to that launch, and wish you all the best for that. And do you think AI could replace automotive salespeople?
I think the type of dealer, i.e., if it's an agency, used car, whatever that might be, I think that might make a difference. But within the UK, there was a couple of companies that tried to do purely remote, like a click and collect, as if you're Amazon, right? And they have failed terribly. There was a couple that went in and tried and couldn't, and a mixture of maybe not having automotive experience in a company and naively perhaps thinking you see a car, it's photographed, I click it, I pay, I take the car, and nothing ever goes wrong. Maybe that didn't help, but I think depending on the brand, 75% of purchases are emotion led, but a customer won't walk in and say, this decision is led by emotion. You see it by facial expressions. And I understand AI can pick that up, but how well they can adapt their body language, which obviously doesn't technically exist to a certain degree, into helping with that emotion, I think is tough. I think for data, for reporting, for pictures, for that sort of thing, that it's a great tool in your armory. I don't see how my relationship with someone at Land Rover that had bought 12 cars off me, for example, I don't think what I gave that person can be given by probably anyone else or any AI based, right? I'm proud of what I've done there. I think it takes the human in you to do it.
Why do you think you need a human? Is it because only about the body language, or the AI trying to understand the emotions, or anything apart from that?
I think negotiation, culturally, at least my experience is people want to be able to be involved in that. Our cars are the best priced at the moment, for sure, in the UAE. There'll still be a customer in the showroom that says it's 10,000 dirham cheaper than the next one. But I would almost rather you put the price up and negotiate with me because I enjoy the negotiation. Well, how you manage that, how you inject some humor into that as well. Humor is a huge part of sales, I believe. Body language for sure. If you're sat in the back of a test drive and there's a husband and wife in the front, I don't see how I can impact that. They can make a remark or feel uneasy driving over a drain in the road or a high curb or turning right or whatever that might be. That's really hard to replace. Really, really hard. You'll see it now. There's loads of high ticket salespeople that sell stuff remotely, right? I have a very good friend that does it. And the needs analysis to be able to kind of push and pull the squeeze of playing on someone's emotions. AI, I'm sure, can see it over a long period of time, but it's that one facial expression that where, like on a salesperson, where that limit is. But two different facial expressions same facial expression could mean two different things. And it's the experience that probably knows, even maybe culturally, two different expressions could mean two very, very different things as well. Obviously here is so diverse. Someone being quiet could be, in the UK, an assumptive close, you presume, until they say otherwise, they're going to buy the car. If someone is quiet of some nationalities in the UAE, it's because you haven't given them a reason to talk yet. So you best give them some information, because at the moment, they're not particularly impressed with what it is you've said. That is hard, I think.
That's an interesting take, Reece. And you mentioned about the data is coming into the dealerships as well. So are they actually using the data effectively?
Yeah. So, for example, the pricing, there's whole AI automotive dealerships in the UK, smaller ones. The Car Dealer magazine, the main editor for that, James Baggett, he has a car dealership, which is an AI car project. Every car he buys is based on AI, the rating of how quickly it will sell and at what price, whether he should buy it or not. He won't buy anything that is not in his parameters, and his business has grown very, very well as a side business. And now I think it is a fully functioning business. That for pricing and that sort of thing, and maybe aligning stock management. We're going to have trackers in cars, for example, to know when it's been taken by the cleaning company, by when it goes into a workshop, to estimate when that car will have arrived at a different site to be delivered to a customer. So it's those sorts of things that I think will help. I know the sales team here at the moment use it for simple things like maybe not exactly like translation, but we could put our entire stock list and say we need to try and sell this one particular car. Who might be best to sell this car to based on where their current finance package stands, their financial position, based on their current monthly payment, and going into this car, and it'll create a short list of these 5 people might be great to sell this car to. That, or scrolling through 2,000 customers on an Excel spreadsheet, or trying to remember someone's name. Obviously, a lot of countries have their own kind of native names, but a lot of them can be very similar. England, there's 100 Harrys, 1,000 Toms, and stuff like that. You can't remember the last name of every Tom. Obviously, UAE has their own names as well, but that would be super useful.
Is this the only way that you see that AI can improve the maybe the follow-up and customer engagement, or any other things that you would like to add on?
We have a system that we load trade-ins on to be able to help value and send them out to some companies we partner with. And they propose an AI follow-up to Chase. We've given you this much amount of money for your trade-in. Are you happy to trade in? Are you happy to trade it in and follow up? The challenge will be, I think, not that I don't think it's not, that it can't be overcome as an industry. When you present a price, that's A, when the work starts, but B, then where you start earning your money by overcoming the objection. If AI followed me up saying, is 12,000 enough for you? Is 12,000 enough for you? And I say no, then to try and say, okay, well, the reason why it's 12 is because this is what they're selling for. This is how to go back. AI could present that, but then to be able to maybe relate it on to, remember when you told me that you'd missed one service? Remember when you told me that you'd taken it into the desert a couple of times, but you really wanted our car and you want to be in our car by next Tuesday? You might, for the sake of speed, need to take a bit of a lower price and bring it to me because I can get it done in time. That is, again, probably pushes it back a bit towards the emotions and the whole story. AI is very hard to capture the entire story because your communication could be verbal, body language, could be WhatsApp, it could be email, it could be video, that it would need to capture it all and build a customer profile live and respond just as quick. And I think that's difficult.
That's something that AI can definitely improve on. Interesting. So, as us human beings, we have memories of the conversation that we had before. In the same manner, if we put the data inside the knowledge base of the AI, it would be able to remember like what are the conversation it had before. So it's the same thing, but it's very important to train the agent. If it's
Yeah.
not trained, like it would be giving us some random answers, and that's happening in the market. Like a lot of AI agents are not sticking into the and going to the internet and pulling something up. So it affects the compliance there as well.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. Would you agree on it, or do you have anything to add on?
I think maybe the cost at the moment or the access to it is what maybe slows down the introduction for a lot of places. But I think the challenges when eventually everywhere gets to that kind of same level, you've explained perfectly, is what I think will become the next sticking point that keeps people like me in a job. Long may it continue.
AI is not gonna like replace human sales. It can never do, because as you already mentioned, the automotive industry, especially, it's something like it's a want that the customers, they want this car. It's that not their need, and for those wants, we need to understand their emotions, why they need it. The conversation would be around those, and yeah, it's not gonna replace a human, but yeah, like it can definitely help in the repetitive task the agents, sales executives goes through every day.
It's an
Like,
efficiency tool. That's where the bulk of the win
that's
is.
the right way. It makes it much more efficient, and the salespeople can concentrate much more on closing the deals rather than following up on the leads. Like me personally, being worked in brands like Bentley and KTM, so I've seen this. Like most of the dealership, we get the lead, and the leads comes in, it's already like a few days older. They doesn't even remember. Like they fill the form. Uh, do you see dealerships managers be watching every day to understand whether their sales operations is healthy?
I think you get the two extremes of people. I think you get people that think the salespeople's job and the delivery specialists and all the real key people in the business, they should do their job. So why would they not do their job? So I'll wait here until someone tells me there's a problem and then I'll do the best I can to help. Or there is the oxygen of the dealership, which a guy that I used to work for, called Shiv, he was described as the oxygen inside the showroom. Everyone came alive when he walked in, I think, and they're over everything. And not in a micromanagement way, but it's you need to me, feel like as a salesperson, there is maybe not a safety net, but there is a help button, which is right next to you, that is right there. And sometimes before a problem even comes to them, they know that's weird, that problem never came, but they know someone else has already sorted it for them, or helped guide it for them. I think you don't get many people in between. You either get someone that is all over it, or someone that the expectation is, I shouldn't have to, because that's what I've got a team for.
Interesting. So, what kind of KPI or metrics should a dealership manager look on?
I think stock management and pricing, the speed to price and present your product is huge. You don't necessarily need a great product. You need a product. You need it to be at a good value, and people need to know about it. If you miss any of those three things, you effectively haven't got a business anyway. That is a core part of driving the business. If you've got 150 used cars or 200 used cars, they need to be priced correctly, and everyone needs to know that that's the price. We've done a recent large price reduction, and now we're spending a substantial amount of money on telling everyone how good the prices are, because otherwise we walk around thinking these prices are so good, but I'm probably not a customer because I work here, or I'm only going to buy one. If I buy one, I won't buy 100 of them. That's key. And then the other real key metrics for me is the amount of time a salesperson spends with a customer before they drive. So the time spent on a needs analysis and rapport building. If I could accurately record that, I would record it. Now I do it by finding out what information they've found out from a customer, because obviously you can't ask someone, hi, my name's Reece. What's the name of your 3 children? I'm guessing you've got 3, and what sport do you play? Like, it takes time to build that. That to me is a underappreciated KPI. Speed of response, again, huge. I think that's massive. And we track where people fall out of the process. That to me is my needs analysis. If we have 3,000 inquiries this month and we sell 300 cars, 2,700 people who we sell a car to, I will individually approve every single customer as we have no chance left. It might be the fact that I call them, my showroom manager calls them, the notes make sense. It could be a car's not available for 2 years. Okay, I can't change that aspect of it. I understand that. Have we got a way to keep in contact with that customer for the next 2 years? Yes, that's to me as far as we can take that inquiry as of now, so long as we've suggested alternatives. Knowing where they fall out of that funnel and where the blockade is, to me, is what takes the conversion rates from 8% to 14 and 15%. Is 20% of people come in with the intention to buy. 5% of the time, there'll be reasons that might be uncontrollable as to why they don't. But 15 is realistic, and it's out of that 15% or 16%, it's finding what's the blockade there. And it could be different for every single salesperson, but you need to identify it quickly and train it quickly. It's not a numerical KPI, but I would have a spreadsheet of every salesperson. And for the last 12 weeks, I could tell you what is the key factor of stopping that salesperson in that 1 week, not selling one more car. I could put that into AI, for example.
How do you identify?
We sit with the salespeople on a daily basis to understand where their inquiries are at. A lot of listening. I can hear a lot of the salespeople from my office. Here is harder because a lot of it is Arabic, and my Arabic is below average, I would say, for sure, but I'm getting better. But I have a fantastic individual that supports me here that is helpful for that. But you can still tell a customer's body language whilst talking a language that I don't know. I understand the language of body language. So you can see kind of where it's heading. You can see the same reasons as from a customer why someone hasn't bought. Well, if it's always prices 5,000 dirham too high, 5,000 dirham too high, 5,000 dirham too high, to me it could be, is everyone driving the car as a customer? And are we providing enough value or creating enough value proposition by selling the benefits of that car specifically to that person? Because to me, I have a really average back. I drive a lot. For me, massage function, unbelievable. I want it, right? But if you haven't told me, I would presume a car could be a little bit higher on the price if I don't know it has that function and stuff like that. Is then actually the car price isn't too high. It's the value add that car to that person's life that is undersold, I suppose. So
Interesting.
it's like an operation.
So, understanding the body language you mentioned, what kind of complaints does a customer come with? Like when most of them are planning to buy a vehicle.
Quite controversially, I suppose, we had, if you take away maybe mechanical issues as it's a brand new car and there's a issue with the manufacturing, for example, Land Rover, for example, I can't fix an engine, but we can do what we can. But take that away, complaints can be waiting for information, for sure, or speed of response, definitely, albeit not where I am now, but I've definitely seen that. The other challenge, I suppose, can be there's a lot of people that want to come in, have a price, pay the price, walk out. And if they tell you they're going to pick it up at Tuesday at 10 o'clock, they'll be here at 10 o'clock on Tuesday.
No complaints, customer.
Yeah. However, when we say there's a compliance process, I need to read you this disclaimer, there's these certain additional value products that I want to go through with you, they'll always push back on, I just want to buy the car. That to me is a bit enough of a relationship. They don't feel like we're not acknowledging them I completely understand what it is you're trying to achieve today. Let me explain to you what I'm trying to achieve today. And I'm sure we can help each other, but these are some of the steps I need to do. We haven't signposted well enough. So the customer's like, why are you talking to me about car insurance? I'm here to buy a car. We should have said, after your test drive, I'm going to talk to you about how you're going to be insured because you can't drive away with the car without. Like, of course, this is a really important next step. And I think that comes from a salesperson having to focus so much on the compliance aspect that naturally having a conversation and being relaxed while they're at it doesn't happen as naturally as it used to. Before a test drive now, for example, my showroom manager or sales manager will meet a customer before a customer goes for a test drive. The salesperson, we have a driver that will prepare the car for test drive, but the salesperson then can go and talk to me, someone else. They can do whatever to give themselves 5 minutes of thinking, have I asked that? Have I said this? 5 minutes not performing as if they're on stage. So they can always revisit and go back to it. I forgot to mention, because you sat in front of someone and the lights are on you and you've got the pressure and the compliance, that gives them 5 minutes of breathing space. And for a customer, most customers love the idea of being introduced to a team, not an individual. They need to feel supported, like they can trust people. And a salesperson, they could have been doing a report or something important for an hour, look up, a customer's walking in, their brain's in a completely different place. They can't just switch it on and forget nothing. That's difficult.
Interesting. So, like, where do you see an ideal dealerships buying experience will look like from 5 years from now?
Good question. I think on a new car, I think a lot of brands will, and some brands are doing this now in the UK, are sending like the AI headsets to see what it's like driving a car before they come in for a test drive. I think there is a benefit to that, but I think that can take away from building some value into the brand of physically feeling and touching it. But I think a lot of brands will introduce that because the overheads of dealerships are expensive. You could effectively maybe have less dealerships. So I think definitely the UK dealerships are getting smaller, as in the number of them, but the actual dealerships are perhaps getting bigger. It's a bit of a strange paradox, I suppose, that they're probably got the same square footage, but just split differently. I don't see a customer entering the dealership, or the amount of them entering dealerships will change. I think we'll have the next 5 years, people will still be a bit nervous to fully trust everything, and they'll come in to kind of tick that box themselves. And it's a salesperson that has to give the experience, not the information, the experience. Whereas before, my sales team here will know everything about every spec for the last 20 years. Some of them have got photographic memories. crazily well versed on the brand, but making someone feel special is you can't learn that from a book. It's injecting it in people's body language, the way people react, the way people come back is super important. I think the speed that people will want their cars after is they'll expect everything after the sale to be quicker. And I think that's where the process will change. They buy a car, we're in a I want it now society. And I think people will pay and then be confused as to why they're not already sat in their car. And there's a lot of mechanical challenges, bank challenges. The bank process in the UAE is much slower than in the UK, for example. Those things will have to catch up because customers will compromise for speed 9 times out of 10 now. Fortunately, everyone's almost at the same speed in dealerships, but if someone all of a sudden can provide something quicker, they'll quickly take over a large market proportion, I think.
When I was just having the conversation right now, like I was thinking about like flying cars as well. Like, what's your take? Like, is within the 5 years, do you think we can see flying cars around or automated flying cars?
They've got drones doing deliveries and stuff now, right, in the UAE. I drive past most mornings a driverless taxi doing like a test routes and stuff in the morning. So that I definitely do. You can't flash them to get them to move out of the way because I don't think they know that you're flashing them. So you have to drive around them. But we have Xpeng in our group, and they have I don't know the name of the vehicle off the top of my head, but they have a large MPV like vehicle with a human-sized drone in the back that you can sit in, and I believe it flies, or you can fly it up or whatever. Do I think then we'll fully have it? I think they'll exist. I think creating the infrastructure is the hardest bit. Of rooftops need to be able to have landing spaces, or you have bits of land, but in the UAE especially, a lot of the developing companies, Emaar, for example, obviously huge over the Middle East. If you own that land, do you sell it to where 10 cars can land, or to Emaar that can make or build 100 one-bedroom apartments? Who's going to pay more money? Probably Emaar, right? In which case we're landing on rooftops. Were they built for that when it first happened? Maybe not. The roads are still constantly developing here. I'm sure in the UAE, if they want something, they'll build it, and they'll build it quickly. And it has a lot more space, a lot more green fields to be able to accommodate that, where there would be more space for sure. I think that the people with the wealth to be able to do that in the UAE for now, they'll just take helicopters, right? It's basically already there.
Yeah, like that would be much more like proven method to travel through air. We don't see that happening in the time span of 5 years, maybe more than 10 years, because there are like a lot of compliances that has to be done. Like the traffic is one of the major things. There has to be some rules and regulations, like how we are going to do that. So it takes time. I think around 10 years is something that we can expect.
The most basic thing that we take for granted on roads that help us enormously is a curb. You could follow a curb if you're not sure where to go. You keep your right wheel close to the curb, and you follow the road round, right? Or the barrier or whatever. When you're up in the sky, there is going to be no border on where to drive. So, okay, I'm sure the flight guys would be maybe autonomously driving people to where they want to go. Testing that is incredibly difficult for a host of reasons, safety being a huge part of it. I'm sure they'll test it without human beings to start off with. You've got to be a brave person to be the first person in a flying car, I'm sure, or get paid a lot of money. But in a driverless car, you've got a default period of there is a curb, there is lights, there is this. The etiquette of airspace would be completely from different parts of the Middle East and Asia. Road etiquette has a huge variance, right? Let alone air etiquette is, I suppose, at least everyone starts with a fresh start. You don't learn how to drive in one country and then try and adopt it in another country. At least that's brand new. But yeah, we'll be there, I think.
Looking forward to exciting days coming. Mentioning about flying cars, like in the automotive trend, do you think the industry is underestimating anything right now?
I think there is a underestimation on how important speed is, full stop, in every metric of everything. I think it's undervalued. It's relatively underpriced as well to be able to increase speed across a lot of metrics, and underutilized. It's there. Speed is willpower, human hours or time, whatever it is. And things like AI, there's so many ways to speed up things. And speed kills profit is just how business works, isn't it? I think the only anomaly to that is if you're buying a hypercar and they could probably build one in 2 months for 5 million, but it becomes more valuable if you have to wait 2 years for it. That's an anomaly, but the general audience probably wouldn't be shopping for hypercars as often as a Volkswagen, perhaps.
Interesting. So you mentioned about speed and AI. So like the AI changing dealership operations over the next 5 years, like how do you see that?
I think one thing a couple of weeks ago I've asked to be put into our CRM is not just an average days in stock or turnover time for used cars, but model specific. And if there's an anomaly because one particular car was red and it took 4 times the time, four times the time, that's documented very easily because we all have our own. If your favorite car is a Golf R and you're buying a car for stock, you'll be biased towards that Golf R. You're buying with emotion. You're not buying it for an emotional purpose. You're buying it to sell it, right? I think AI to understand the stock turn and the pricing and our competitors' pricing. If a price has been updated, I know Rightmove, which people use to find houses in the UK, right? There's an add-on tool to that where you can put it onto your browser and it will tell you the pricing, the good, the bad, the previous, when it was last updated, what from, all these sorts of things as like a bolt on to the website already. Auto Trader in the UK has great AI to be able to tell you the pricing metrics for cars. UAE hasn't got something really like that. There's less data, there's less history being recorded. Obviously that's going up now, but I think that's a huge loss in the process. If a customer pays us today, we have a human being that links that to the customer so we can confirm the money is in the bank. Then we start the next process. As far as I'm concerned, if that money's in the bank, AI can illustrate or understand that's come from that customer. It's allocated to them. It automatically triggers the next part of the process. It takes away the kind of monitoring of the process to that bit being streamlined. It is speed. A slow car is not a profitable car. So the quicker you advertise it, price it right, photo it, sell it, deliver it, it's just, that's it. That's everything.
If you were like starting a dealership from scratch today, so what kind of technology would you build and the business from day one?
I would certainly be using the help of AI to understand the trends and what people are buying within the marketplace. Again, people always have the grass is greener. If you sell a Chinese brand, you think German cars have the best history in the world, so they'll be the best cars to sell. And if you sell a German brand, you think Chinese cars are really developing. They're very, very well priced. I bet they sell cars to everyone, to eliminate any sort of bias and feelings out of it. Pricing, to me, it's a very good tool to be able to use as a pricing guide, but I still think there's a little bit of personal understanding that's needed, maybe because there's limited data in the UAE to a certain extent, but you would know that if a particular Land Rover was launched and all of them were in red, and you had one come back that was red, you think people have seen this for years. It doesn't seem exciting. You've had one in orange and no one's seen it before in orange. You probably can be a bit stronger with the price. I think it will give a very good guide or an assumptive price to allow a human to be a finishing touch. I would use it for the help of the mechanical side of things and not in terms of physically doing the work, but the service scheduling, the preparation needs. If I've got a Golf today, the 4 other cars are advertised online, which are similar. When were they last serviced? When were they last checked? What history have they got? To be able to understand, am I prepping the car or preparing the car to the similar standard or above the standard of my competition? And certainly all the information is there. It's just a manual, tough thing to click through the photos, check the history online. With those things, you can make sure I've got a car that people are interested in at the right price with the right preparation. And then it's how you communicate with people afterwards. I think I probably would. If it was just me in my own dealership as a one-man business, I would definitely use it for that first touch point and acknowledge to a customer, hey, I'm AI. The owner of this business is Reece. He should be no more than 15, 20 minutes to get back to you. In the meantime, some more information about the car to buy a bit of time when you're very time short. If it's a bigger business and it's a whole new brand or a brand that's opening a new sector, largely the same. I think you can then plan more around maybe the financials of the business, the amount of stock you would have, planning budgets, stuff like that. Then I think because you're starting afresh, that that can be involved. If I'm got a small forecourt and I'm going to sell them myself, my budget is my own bank account, isn't it? So one thing's for sure, everyone knows how much they've got in their own bank account, whether it's good or bad, to understand whether you're in a positive, negative, or whatever. So I don't need a ChatGPT to tell me that it's payday on Monday, for example. Like you would know that already.
Exactly. It's like a mix of everything that you mentioned. Should start with AI and try to understand the market, try to understand the pricing, and then like if a Volkswagen or a Chinese car is better, or the other way around. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Interesting. So, like, what's your boldest prediction for the future of automotive sales?
Very good question. I think, I don't know if this is a prediction, but it's certainly something that I think is necessary. The fight for market share will be more important than ever. I think the units sold across the world will go down for most brands where they realign with market changes, market conditions, and being incredibly profit focused, more so than glorified units. I think in 5 years' time, the standard skill level of salespeople will grow enormously because there's a huge turnover of people now, and those that are committed will stay, learn, understand. And I think they'll be battle tested for that 10-year cycle or whatever it is that you see where the economy changes, to get that market share. I think your social medias are obviously becoming a much bigger part to it, for sure. We now do more TikTok than ever. And I joined without a TikTok account. So that's been a real learning curve for me. But they'll have to get themselves into a consumer's life in different ways. You can't advertise on TV anymore. People skip the advert, so they watch Netflix. You can't advertise on a billboard anymore because people are on their phones, either talking or unfortunately scrolling whilst they drive. That you can't do that. And we've changed our marketing a lot in the last 6 months, a lot with the help of AI as well. That I think if we partnered, for example, with a real estate company and we have a dual database, dual customers, and that business can then have a foot in so much of a human being's ecosystem, I think that's where you can get lifetime value from a customer. We have oil and gas, real estate, jewelry within Ali & Sons. For people in this part of the world, that takes a huge amount of what they spend their money on is where you live, what you drive, and what jewelry you wear. That's a huge proportion of someone's income.
That's very interesting. Now, like, if you could give one piece of advice to every dealership owner or sales manager who's listening to this episode, what would it be?
You have to be a beat that hits a drum. And I think quite often in management, you think your team is the drum and you hit it. And the more you hit it, the louder it is, the better it works. That's the case. I think you've got to be the drum and encourage other people to hit you. My job is to make everyone else's jobs easier. It's not, their job isn't to make us money or me money. I have to make their job as easy as possible. However that is, not because I believe people to be an easy ride. Can certainly tell you, anyone who's worked for me will tell you they've never been pushed as hard as they do for me. But they also know that if the car breaks down on their way to their wife's birthday, I'll pick them up, I'll take them, I'll sit opposite and make sure they eat dinner and take them home. Because you're to motivate your people more than they've ever worked before outside their comfort zones. They've got to understand that at whatever time of day it is, whatever the problem is that you'd almost be disappointed if they didn't bring that problem to you to fix. I'm super proud that I feel like my team truly believe they would bring me a problem that I go, how on earth would I even consider fixing this? But like, a problem shared is a problem halved. I'll learn how to fix it with you, because there's lots of other jobs out there. There's lots of other brands, and to give true customer service and true 120%, you're asking people more than what you deserve from them. So you have to motivate them to want to give you everything they have.
It's all about teamwork. Makes sense. And for everyone listening, remember this, like, the future of automotive isn't about like replacing people with technology. It's about great people with better technology. So to do what they already do the best. So yeah. So it has been an interesting talk, Reece. This has been a really valuable conversation, I think. There are a lot of lessons here for dealership owners, sales managers, and anyone working in the automotive sales today. So thank you for taking time to come on Auto Intel and
Really good.
sharing your experience, your insights, your perspective on where the industry is leading. And for everyone listening, if you got some value from the conversation, make sure you follow Auto Intel, share the episode with someone working in automotive, and leave us a review. Definitely connect with Reece and follow his work on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. There's still a lot of people in the UK that we'll speak to that some people unfortunately come to me and say, old customers, I'm struggling to sell them a car. What's your advice or whatever, or on stuff like that? To me, that's a good way for me to learn. So happy to talk, happy to help, happy to share any sort of thing that can make us all better for sure.
Perfect. So you can find Reece Saunders on LinkedIn, and we'll make sure his profile is linked in the show notes so you can connect with him directly. Reece, thank you again for being here, and I really appreciate your time. And to everyone listening, remember, keep learning, keep adapting, and keep building. This is Sudhars Vijayan signing off from Auto Intel. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.